Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm finally back from Liverpool. We're back from a breakaway, so we can get back into making some proper content. I can make videos, I can put a little bit of effort in. It doesn't have to be live from an Airbnb where the audio and the video quality isn't at its finest. Today we're here to talk about the state of Celtic Football Club. We're here to talk about the upcoming next 7 days, because it's a big 7 days, and how Celtic are leaving me a little bit concerned. I feel like they're almost at the wind-up. Before we do go any further with the video, I'd like to quickly offer out my thoughts and prayers to the family of Charlie Gallagher, Celtic legend, who sadly passed away yesterday. A legend, a Lisbon Lion, a man who is one of the biggest parts of Celtic's history. My father was lucky enough to grow up watching the Lisbon Lions. He followed the team all the way to Lisbon, up until the final, and he always used to tell me about Gallagher, his ball against Vojvodina and all the rest of it. It's sad when one of our best players and one of our legends sadly pass, or anybody related with the Celtic family, and just like this situation here. So thoughts and prayers with him and his family. Right then, Celtic are back in business, kind of. I'm getting a bit concerned, and this feels like almost the exact same situation as when I came back from London a few weeks ago to a Celtic side who are really not making any big steps towards this rebuild. And I feel like I've came back from Liverpool and the exact same thing has happened. I've missed a lot of the things that I'd like to come on and talk about, so I'm kind of rolling it into one big video. In a video which I said at the start, I feel like Celtic are kind of winding me up and winding the rest of us up. We are 9 days away from our first European qualifier. Celtic have made one signing in the form of a free agent from Sheffield Wednesday, a 19-year-old lad, who I've got nothing against, of course, God bless him, but you know, we've made one signing in this rebuild on a development fee, in a season where we're trying to reclaim ourselves as the best team in Scotland, or get as close to that as possible, and I just feel like we're not really taking any steps. Even Big Ange just sounded quite annoyed in the way he's been talking in the media about recruitment, about transfers, as we seem to just be slowly walking our way into a season we are vastly unprepared for, which has really got me worried. Now, this video is by no means an attack on Ange Postecoglou. It's by means no attack on the players and the team. They're doing everything they can right now in pre-season. I've enjoyed the first two friendlies from what I've seen. They're doing everything they can on the pitch right now, but off the pitch, we are stalling. We are taking our time, and quite frankly, time we don't really have. And I know a lot of people will be saying, stop the panicking, stop being so negative and that, but we really need to get the finger out of us. So let's talk about the three kind of big issues right now, I think, at Celtic, which really have me concerned. Recruitment altogether has got me concerned. We need so many players. We've spoke about how many positions we need to improve on, how many players we need to add in for not just the starting 11, but in terms of depth. And we've really added nothing. Liam Shaw and Origidi have came in. They've came in on free transfers, and yes, I'm sure they'll go on to have bright futures at Celtic, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. But they're not the quality of player we need in our first team right now. We need players who are going to come in and take us forward into being a team that can challenge for the league title again. And we have not added any yet, only 8 days off of this first European qualifier. Celtic bidded, as we all know, for Karl Starfelt, the Swedish centre-half from Rubin Kazan, and Fabrizio Romano was quick to report that those deals were looking good. It was like Celtic had engaged in conversation and it was going well. But yesterday, or a couple of days ago, the news broke that we have stalled on that. We've kind of stopped the negotiation and the talks phase, and there has been no real clarity as to where that's going. And I'm getting the fear that's going to come on and tie into something we're going to talk about a bit later with a player that should be exiting Celtic this summer. But there has been no real clarification as to why this has been stalled. Now, the Daily Record was reporting that maybe Rubin Kazan are looking for a bit more money, which has kind of turned Celtic off at the prospect of it. I think they want more than the initial 4.2 million. I think they want closer to 5 million. That's the case. You're talking £800,000 here. I know Celtic aren't a Premier League money team. We've not got that kind of, as Winston Ingram would say, the diamonds lined in their arse. But I feel like that's something that Celtic should be going, okay, if we really want him and we think he's good enough and we've picked him out as Ayer's replacement for £800,000, Celtic should be paying that £800,000. This guy is a player who's established himself. He's 25, 26 years old. He's played in the Swedish international side. He's played at a very top level in Russia. surely that should be much of an issue. Now, the thing that annoys me about this one is the lack of clarity, because I could be coming out and I could be complaining, like a lot of Celtic fans are at the minute around this. I could be complaining when I don't really know what the exact situation is. But it's one of those ones that starts ringing those alarm bells for situations that we've been in the past, and maybe right now, about just not want to pay that extra bit of money, about being tight-pocketed, about being stingy, and losing out on a player who's going to really enhance our team. That's what I'm worried about. And we don't have the time to stall on centre-halves. We need centre-halves. Right now, our centre-halves is looking like an injured Christopher Jullien, a player who wants to leave the club in Christopher Ajer, Stephen Welsh, who I'm not quite sold on being a first-team player yet, Nir Beaton, who's a central midfielder, and another host of young players, and then Oragide, who's been brought into, and even, to an extent, Liam Shaw, because he can play centre-half and in the midfield. To me, that's not good enough. If you take Ajer out of the equation, you look at Jullien and then Welsh, that's not good enough. We need players, we need depth, and we need quality. So why are we stalling on what looks to be the easiest option for us so far, and the one we've made the most advancement with? It just baffles me, to be quite honest with you. Which ties into the second player we're now going to talk about. Brandon Soppe, the young French right-back from Rennes, who's been linked with Celtic for a number of days now. Celtic apparently made the bid of £3 million for the player as he enters his last year of his contract there. They wanted to keep him on. He wants to leave the club. He wants to move on after looking at the options around him. But Rennes are now looking for a fee of £4.2 million. Now, this is, I think, a 19-year-old right-back from France, a market which we have done incredibly well in recent years. Moussa Dembele, Odsonne Edouard, Christopher Jullien, to an extent Olivier and Cham have done incredibly well in that French market, and Celtic don't look as though they want to pay the £1.2 million extra in a position that, once again, like the centre-backs, we desperately need. Are we talking about, really, honestly, heading into not just our first European qualifier, because I'll take that away for a minute because it's so quick coming up, it's right there, but are we seriously talking about heading into our first league game of the season against Hearts on the opening day, playing Anthony Ralston at right back? Now, I'm not going to be... I think in the second game, he looked better, but in the first game against Sheffield Wednesday, it didn't look great, and to me either, as he's not looked great for the last couple of years in my eyes. Now, Brandon Soppe is a player who's been playing at the under-17s level for France, looks as though he's got a good future there, broke into that Rennes first team, is getting a high rating, looked at by other clubs in France, and quite... he's obviously worked for that £4.2 million price tag. You're looking at someone who can come into Celtic, get into that first team, really make himself a player, a star, and we can cash in on the future. But Celtic aren't looking at it like that. They want to shortchange another side. We're talking about offering £1.2 million less because they don't want to pay the money when we are in dire need of these players. Now, the player is in the last year of his deal. He looks desperate to leave the club amongst all the interest that's there. Celtic should once again be stepping up and paying this. Have we not learned from our mistakes in the past? This is the same situation that happened when we missed out on Ivan Toney, on John McGinn, as far back as Stephen Fletcher. This is that scenario ready to paint itself out again. A young talent who clearly has quality, missing out, or we're missing out on because we don't want to pay the fee. Now, I believe, once again, the Daily Record, take everything that's been said in the newspapers and such with a pinch of salt, as always. I believe what's been said is Celtic are ready to step up the hunt a wee bit more and try and get it done. But we are gambling here. We're really putting all these deals on the line just because we don't want to try and pay that extra bit of money. Are Celtic waiting on the sale of big players like Odsonne Edouard, Christopher Ajer before they start spending money? We can't do that. Now, financially, I don't work at the club. I don't know the exact numbers we have to work with this summer. All you get really is the revenue reports at the end of the financial year to work with. But Celtic are in a position where they should be able to go and get these players. And we should not be banking on the sale of other players to get the ones that we really need through the door first. Now, Soppe and Starfelt come to a combined fee. If we pay the money that the two clubs want, around £9 million, £9.5 million maybe a push, Celtic should be spending that this summer. Now, we can't afford to wait any longer for Ajer and Edouard to go. Yes, it would be ideal to sell those players. I'm not saying it wouldn't be. It'd be ideal to sell those two first, get the big money that we need, and then go into the market. But it's not going to be as simple as that, because Celtic are, once again, we'll come on to it, shooting ourselves in the foot with it. But we can't afford to just wait on those guys to leave before we bring in others. We really need the players. And perhaps the most baffling bit of information that's came out over the past couple of days that kind of wraps up this video is the rejection of Brentford's offer for Christopher Ajer. I don't understand it. At the start of this transfer window, there was talk that we would lose Christopher Ajer for a mere £7 million, a fee which I was very unhappy with, but understood under the circumstances. Look, Ajer was heading into his last year of his contract. It was going to be hard to get a big enough fee that justified what we all wanted, but £7 million I was disappointed in. Now, Brentford apparently come in with an offer. Let me just check. £12 million plus £3 million add-on. You're talking £15 million it could rise to, and we knock it back because we want to keep him here. What? The guy wants to leave the club. He's openly said in the media, he's spoke to interviews and said, yes, I would like to move on this summer. Celtic are now going, no, you're not going, and I'm knocking back £15 million, which is more than double the original fee we seen at the start of the window that apparently Norwich were offering. We're getting double that, and Celtic are knocking it back when he's in the last year of his contract. A guy who wants to leave the club, and a guy who's clearly not going to be here past the expiry of that contract. He'll be gone. He'll be on talks in January with another club. He'll sign on the Bosman rule, and he'll be off. He'll be off somewhere because there's plenty of suitors. People want to bring Christopher Ajer in. So you're talking about turning down £15 million to get absolutely nothing next year. Now, I've seen the argument, and I can understand the argument people are making and saying, oh, well, it's a big season for Celtic. There's automatic Champions League qualification on the line. If Celtic get that automatic qualification, you're talking £30-40 million into the club, which is more than what Christopher Ajer's worth. But I'm sorry, I think if we get the £15 million for Christopher Ajer, we can sign one or two centre-halves, which can be on par, or if so, better than Christopher Ajer. In my humble opinion. You might not agree, and I understand if you don't agree, because I love Christopher Ajer. I think he's a great player, but if we get the £15 million and we can bring in one or two centre-halves, that could be potentially better than Ajer. We also want to try and qualify for the Champions League or the Europa League this season, which is hanging in the balance right now, because we're not making signings. It's just baffling. I don't understand it. Why keep him? I understand people want our best opportunity of winning this league this season and being the best team, but that can be done by signing quality. Starfelt seems like a player who could be quality. Vuskovic, we've not even spoke about Vuskovic. What has happened to that? You know, you bring in Vuskovic and Starfelt, you're talking a good exchange for Christopher Ajer leaving the club, and I know we've not seen any of them play yet, and it could easily backfire, and you know you've got quality with Ajer, but that's football. That's what happens. We're talking about one young and one experienced centre-half to come in and join Julien there when he's back. I fancy our chances of going and trying to challenge for that league title if we make the right signings. And those two guys, Vuskovic and Starfelt, can be two of those signings. So why we're stalling on it, I really don't understand it. It's baffling me. I don't know why we'd keep Ajer when we have £15 million lying there that we could cash in on. So that does it. That's my little off my chest moment. I don't want to say rant. I don't feel like it's much of a rant. It's just more of a concern that I feel we all sort of have in the back of our minds. Some are more concerned than others, but we really need to get moving in this transfer window. You know, we're going into this qualifiers with a back line potentially looking like Ralston, Welsh, Beaton and Taylor. That's just no. It cannot happen. So Celtic, get a finger out, stop winding this up, get something done. I didn't say it at the top of the video, but please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It would be much appreciated. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.